Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get right to the chase, and I'm going to tell you how I made my truck box rod mount out of PVC pipes. Now, all the measurements I'm going to use in this video are customizable. You can modify it to however you need for your particular truck. I used 5 1¼ inch tees, 2 1-inch elbows, and 2 1 to 1¼ inch elbows. And I bought 10 feet of 1-inch PVC and 1¼ inch PVC just because it was cheaper. Oh, and don't forget to buy your primer and your cement. For the hardware, I used 2½ inch bolts with flat washers, split washers, and self-locking nuts. First thing I did was lay out all the pieces how I wanted it and just visually check to see how I would like it. I decided I wanted a 1-inch gap between each of the fittings on the bottom. Did some math, there's a 1¼ inch that goes into each fitting, so it comes out to 3½ inches. So I measured, marked, and cut my 3½ inch pieces. Now, after every cut I made, I went ahead and just brushed off the excess with my fingertips and then lightly sanded the edges so that it would fit into the fittings nicely. I cut 6 of these pieces, and if you cut terribly at an angle like I did, it's okay, as long as at least one side of your tube is the 3½ inches that you were shooting for in the first place. I put primer, got my primer and cement ready, put primer on the inside of the fitting and the outside of the PVC tube, and same with the cement.
I'm so hungry.
I used quite a bit of cement. I'm not sure if I needed to, but that's okay because the excess is just going to squeeze out and you can wipe it off if you feel the need. Make sure when you press it in to just press it as firmly as you can to get it seated all the way inside of the fitting. Now, to keep it straight, I used my driveway, and while the cement was still soft, I just pressed down on all of the fittings to make sure that they were as straight as I could get them before the cement set. For the side pieces, I just held the pieces up to where I wanted them and then measured the gap. The gap plus the 1¼ inch that the tube goes into each fitting came out to 7 inches for my setup. So I went ahead and I measured and marked 7 inches and cut 2 of those pipes, one for each side. And now we're working with the 1-inch tube. So here we go, got the reducer on the bottom, the 1-inch tube, and the 1-inch elbow on top. Went ahead and primered and glued and pressed all of those pieces together, making sure to use my flat, hard driveway to make sure that the pieces were as straight as I could get them. To make sure that the top was the same size and length as the bottom, I just measured my already assembled bottom piece, which came out to 30 inches, and like all the times before, I measured, marked, and cut my pipe. For the actual rod holders, I just measured my longest rod, which was about 11 and a half, and then I accounted for how much of the rod was going to go into the T-fitting, and I think I came out with 10¼ inch tubes. So I measured, marked, and cut the actual rod holders. Now I cut 5 of those, and since one end is going to be out and visible, I went ahead and used some sandpaper on a block to make sure that it looked flat and nice and clean before pressing them all in and getting them set. Now, to get the angle right, as soon as I glued in the bottom piece to the side piece, I set it down on the driveway and then used something to reference and just twisted it to where I needed it before the glue set in. Now the last thing to do is to glue on the other side, making sure that I press it as firmly as I can to get it set. And then I'll lay it back down flat and make sure that everything is square. And there you go. She's all put together. She's square. She looks great. Don't forget to drill some holes in the bottom of the tees. That way rain and water doesn't set inside of the tube. And then I went and bought some 99-cent paint from Lowe's. So check and see what you can get for cheap. I drilled a hole into each corner of the assembly and went ahead and just pressed the bolt into it to make sure that I was using the right size. Now, instead of trying to measure and mark the truck box, I just had my wife help me hold it up against the truck box, and then I just drilled through the already made holes to mark the truck box where I needed to cut the holes. And then I pressed the hardware through just to make sure that the hole was the right size, and assembled my hardware. I used a flat washer under the head of the bolt, and then I used a flat washer inside the truck box, split washer, and a self-locking nut. Then I just tightened all of that down, and it is firm and secure. For the outside hardware, I just crudely painted it black like everything else. And there you have it. Now, like I said before, you can modify this however you want. This is just so you have a general idea of what I did and what you could do for your own truck. For instance, you could try and make it to where this isn't a permanent solution, but rather something that just hangs on the outside of your truck, and maybe use some straps, metal straps, to hang it instead of fastening it with hardware. But it's great, you know, you can still put a bunch of crap in the back of your truck. You don't have to worry about moving your rods around or accidentally setting something on top of them. You know, it's just keeps them up and out of the way, and it looks pretty darn cool. Thanks for watching.